Guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Guys, I have such a good show for you today. Joining me today is friend of the show, John Witherspoon, attorney from DC. We love when he comes on and answers our questions, and we get into some really fun topics today. But as always, make sure you're subscribed, hit the thumbs up, leave me comments, as all of those helps YouTube to recommend my video. I sincerely appreciate it. Now let's get into the interview. And again, a big thank you to John Witherspoon for your time and your thoughtful answers to all of our questions. Oprah ended up spilling it. Yeah, that Harry called and demanded that they come right over. And she's like, well, wait, because her friend's children or grandchildren were coming over. And,
Right.
and he was like, no, we're coming now. And I just thought, what an arrogant fill in the blank,
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah. Listen, I'm grilling a steak. Can you,
Right.
can I finish grilling my steak or cooking a piece of chicken or something, and then can I eat it and then come over? No, come right now, or we're coming right now, or
Yes.
let me get out of my bathrobe or what? It's just,
You're not in the position to demand things. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's again, it's all under the the arch of entitlement,
Mhm.
and it goes back to things we've talked about before. I meant to say this before as well. I try to look at this stuff as best I can from a 50,000-foot perspective, which is one of the reasons I'm not on with you or anybody else every day of the week.
Uh-huh.
I like to think about things that I've heard, that I've read, that I've seen, and then draw some broader conclusions from them. And I
Mhm.
hope that's what I'm able to bring when we talk. But I think about the overarching theme of entitlement. I think about, especially, with the release of this new book about Prince Andrew.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when I think about Andrew and when I think about Harry, the first thought that pops into my mind is, thank the forces of the universe that neither of them were the firstborn in their generation.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if Harry was in line for the throne?
Oh.
I mean, I know there have been some wild stories about stuff that's happened in the past. And I have to say as well, it makes me a little nervous to think about, well, what if Charles is as bad as Andrew is in certain ways, but he's got the palace. He's managed to keep a lid on it, and he's managed to, have the courtiers keep him on the straight and narrow and so forth. And what if William
Uh-huh.
was as bad as his little brother is? That's a really scary thought.
Mhm.
It really is. It really is. And I
But you're playing the hypothetical game because I'm going to get a billion comments. We love William.
of course we love William, because and you know what? The beauty of it all is that let's say, for the sake of argument, that William is as messed up as Harry is
Mhm.
in his organic self. All credit to him for keeping himself on the straight and narrow.
Mhm.
And quite frankly,
Mhm.
you can tell a lot about people by the company that they keep, and in particular by the spouse that they bring into their life.
I think so too.
And I think it's a pretty safe bet that you look at Princess Catherine.
Mhm.
I don't think there's any way she would have hitched her wagon to William if he weren't a pretty solid guy,
Yeah.
you know? And we've all got our flaws, and there are these reports that he's got a little bit of a temper, and he's got 3 little kids at home. Who wouldn't have a temper? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, that would, I'm sure there are times when it's all he can do to keep it together. as any. I mean, they're no different than any other parent in that regard. But you understand the point that I'm trying to
I
make.
do.
It's just it's a and my personal view, by the way, again in keeping with what you just said about, oh my gosh, the comments are going to explode. No, it's a thought exercise to
Uh-huh.
think about what if William was um, troubled, for lack of a better term, in the same way that Harry is.
Right.
I don't think that I don't think that William, he doesn't shoot his mouth off. There's some things that the palace and the courtiers and the men in gray suits cannot fix.
Sure.
If William had a mouth
Mhm.
where he just blabbed things spontaneously without a filter in the way that Harry does,
Mhm.
I no amount of intervention by the palace would have been able to put a stop to that.
Right.
And we would have seen that long before now. I do not think that William is the same as Harry
Yeah. No, I
for
don't.
any number of reasons. I just don't I don't think it's in his DNA. But at
No.
the same time, it's kind of scary to think about, oof, what if he was?
Right.
What if he was? Or what if he was, wired up like his Uncle Andrew is?
Oh. I just say thank God for Princess Anne and thank God for William. They
Yes.
seem to be
And
the
by the way,
rock.
and it's great that you mentioned Princess Anne because
Mhm.
she is a rock star
She is
by
wonderful.
all accounts.
Mhm.
And the great thing about Princess Anne is that she validates the notion that you can have
Mhm.
different members of a given generation that are radically different.
Yeah,
And she's
absolutely.
a great example of that.
Mhm.
People all they talk about is she's got her head screwed on so straight, so straight. She works so hard. She's so dedicated to the task at hand and
Right.
to supporting the monarchy and the UK and all of these charities of which she's a patron and so forth.
Right.
Perfect example of it's not because,
It's nature versus nurture, right? I mean,
well, it's that, and it's not automatically because you're the spare
right, right, exactly.
or a spare.
Right. She's made
So
the most of that role. She's a like you say, a rock star because of it. Yeah.
she really is. She really
Mhm.
is. And
Yeah.
all credit to her.
Yeah.
And
It just
and
is a testament to what Harry could have done had he had his head on straight, and he doesn't.
absolutely, and this gets to the point that I've made
Mhm.
on some other occasions, and people have kind of,
Mhm.
bristled at it. But again, it's to the tragic aspect of Harry's existence.
Uh-huh.
What and again, to go back to the whole 50,000 foot view of things, the books that will be written decades from now about what in the world happened to Harry,
Mhm.
how did he get the way he is, how did he go follow the path that he chose to follow, how did he find himself with Meghan, how did he
Yeah.
not presumably accomplish anything of true substance in the world, how did he transit, how did he make the transformation from a beloved member of the royal family into someone who is largely massively disliked,
Mhm.
disrespected. No one is interested in anything he has to say. All these stories. How in the world did that happen? This is absolutely a tragic waste of opportunity and a waste of a life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think there's any way to get around that.
I agree with you. Totally. Let's see here. So, going to our talking points list, something you had brought up recently with me is you wanted to talk about the difference, I think, in regard to Harry and Meghan with smart tenacity versus stupid tenacity. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's an interesting point, and um, people have commented recently. Meghan, she keeps in spite of whatever setbacks, she faces. She
Mhm.
keeps at it. She keeps at it, and she keeps at it, and she keeps self-promoting, and she keeps
Doing podcasts.
doing podcasts, yes, and
Sprinkling
smiling, and
flowers, yes.
yes, yes. To my mind, and I think to other people's minds as well, there is a difference between, they people talk about the so-called definition of insanity is attempting to do the same thing over and over again when you're not successful.
Mhm.
And then there's a different type of tenacity, which is, I was talking to somebody the other day who wants to start a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
Everybody that I've ever talked to who has started a YouTube channel, I'm sure you could speak to this, Jen, has said there are times when you're 6 months deep into trying to start a channel and you just think to yourself, why is nobody watching?
Mhm.
Why is nobody commenting? Why is YouTube not
Right.
suggesting, recommending my content? On and on and on and on and on.
Mhm.
But you have to persevere.
That's right. Yeah.
And that is a different type of tenacity
Right.
than what Meghan is doing, because it strikes me that Meghan is doing the same things over and over and over again. There's more than enough people calling her out on the overkill, just like you did a second ago, Jen, the
Mhm.
overkill on the flower sprinkles, the
Mhm.
selling out and claiming that this was somehow some miracle, that, oh
Right.
my gosh, the world just loves me, loves me. That's why they bought all this wine and so forth. Um,
Yeah.
that seems more to me like the definition of unhinged behavior. You
Uh-huh.
keep doing the same thing over and over and over again without learning anything from the mistakes, without fine tuning.
Mhm.
I'm sure when you launched your channel, you spent a lot of time soul searching. What could I have done better? How
Yeah.
could I change the lighting? How
Yeah.
could I change my presentation? All of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. For
You
sure.
constantly tweak and look for the right equation, and it's like developing a good recipe for something.
Right.
Well, I need, it needs a little more salt, a little less salt, a little more garlic, whatever it is. You just
Right.
keep at it until you find something that works for you. I don't get the sense that that's what Meghan is up to. I
I
really don't.
and I think you're spot on, but I think well, if you look at what would be the difference, it's the hard work. With the good tenacity that you're talking about, you're working hard. You just believe that eventually somebody's going to watch your stuff. Somebody's going to tell a friend. You're just working toward your goals. I don't think she has goals like that. I don't think she believes in hard work. So I
Yeah,
think that would be the problem there. So
right, right. By the way, I had an interesting speak. I mentioned the wine a second ago. I had an interesting thought the other day. There's a um, everybody's heard of Guinness Brewing
mhm.
from Ireland. Guinness has two experimental breweries, one of which is in Ireland, the other of which is in Baltimore, of all
Oh,
things.
huh.
And if anybody's ever in the DC or Baltimore area, it's called Open Gate Brewery. You can I encourage people to Google it. Even their website is very interesting, but they have a an experimental brewery in the basement of this very
That's
large
cool.
facility, and
Mhm.
you can go in there and take a tour. And I think they run 14 experimental beers all at the same time. And some of them, they say, this is really good stuff. This might be something that we actually want to market. And some of them, they say, oh, this is kind of so-so.
Mhm.
And there's a pub upstairs, and a lot of these experimental beers end up, they're just one-off batches, and they
Mhm.
put them in kegs and they pipe it up to the brew pub upstairs. And then some of the stuff they say, oh, that's really bad.
Right.
Oh, put that down the drain before anybody finds out, because
Yeah.
that's not what we thought we were going to get.
Uh-huh.
And that's just part of the equation. Anyway, my point in all this is that the stuff that middle tier of stuff,
Mhm.
you can buy some of that. They actually put into cans. And I was
Oh, okay.
shocked. I was shocked because the cans that you buy there, in their little store have labels on them that are actually laser printed labels,
Uh-huh.
and they're applied by a machine. You start out with a silver aluminum can, and then they go down the assembly line, and they're not painted, but there's a label that's actually put on there. I
Huh.
thought the other day, I wonder if that's not what Meghan is doing with her wine. I
Oh,
cannot help but think
sure.
that that the winery where she's getting her stuff has however many bottles of various wines just
Mhm.
ready to go. And
Yeah.
if somebody like Megan comes along and says, "Oh, guess what? We have an order. We have we have orders for 500 more bottles of as ever rosé. Can you
Mhm.
print 500 labels real quick and send these bottles through the machine, just like the beer cans at the Guinness Brewery in Baltimore, and just
Mhm.
put one of those, do it yourself instant labels on there?"
Right.
And I wonder
No.
if that's not what's going on. I
Mhm.
just bring that up because I thought it was a very interesting possibility. All of a
Sure.
sudden, now we've got, we had sellout, and then I think, was there a second sellout? And then all of a sudden it's, oh, guess what? We've got unlimited quantities now. Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's what's going on. Just occurred to me.
That's
So
interesting theory. I wouldn't put anything past her. So yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Uh, let's see here. You also brought up oppositional defiant disorder. Do you remember discussing that? And what are your thoughts in terms of Harry and Meghan with oppositional defiant disorder?
yeah. Well, I'm not trained in psychology, psychiatry, or anything of the sort, but I'm aware that there is a condition called oppositional defiant disorder, and it's something that you see in little children,
Mhm.
where if their parent says to them, "Please do X," they refuse to do it. They might even want to do it. They might even agree that it's a good idea to do X, but they have this condition inside their head that makes them just refuse to do it.
Mm.
It's just remarkable. It's
Mhm.
it's like in some of these videos that you see where people are pulled over by the police, and one thing leads to may I see your driver's license, please?
Uh-huh.
No. What do you mean no? This is everybody. Who doesn't know this? And,
Uh-huh.
and the same thing, you see these people that finally things get escalate out of control, and the police officer says, "All right, you're under arrest," and they say,
Mhm.
"No, I'm not." Really, really. What an interesting concept. No, I'm not.
Mhm.
You told me I'm under arrest, but no, that's not
No.
correct. And it's it, in what universe do things work like this? It's like, no, I'm sorry. Actually, and
Right.
I've said, this is just as a legal footnote to this. I've said to people that one of the greatest gifts that you can receive, at least in the United States, is wrongful arrest,
Mm.
because that's like
Uh,
jackpot payday. If
huh.
you've been wrongly arrested or wrongly detained or something like that,
Uh-huh.
and you want to go to court over it, you could conceivably end up with a really nice settlement.
Huh.
So
Huh.
if you think you're being arrested for the wrong reason,
Mhm.
hey, let it rip.
Oh.
You might have, you might have just won the lottery.
Oh,
So
I had no
anyway,
idea.
yeah. So
I'm gonna pay.
it's just one of those things. Like, if you have a problem with the way the police have treated you,
Uh-huh.
I mean, for any number of reasons, which is,
Right.
I
Don't
mean,
what?
you don't want to be tackled and put face down on the pavement, but for any
Right.
number of reasons, you might have a nice payday at the end of the, you know,
I mean,
those cases happen. Those cases happen. So anyway, to get back to the original topic, I
uh,
just think that Harry in particular does not like being told what to do, and we've seen glimpses of that supposed tendency that he
mhm.
has. Um, where he just cannot bring himself in a lot of very important circumstances to just either do what is the right thing for him to do, or just that it seems like the universe is telling him, just 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 do this.
Mhm.
Just do this. And it's kind of shocking because that to me is one of the things that would have been a huge benefit of his military service, is
Mm.
to learn. There are some times when you are told to do something, or you're forced to do something that you absolutely think is the dumbest thing ever, or
Right.
the the most messed up idea ever, and you have to
Mhm.
just sit there and take it. And
Right.
he does not seem to have that capability. It's very interesting, and as we've seen, and then to turn around, like in the court case that, he went on the BBC, that the very next
Mhm.
day, and or very shortly thereafter, and said, "Well, I wish
Right.
someone had told me." You're kidding. You are
Right.
kidding.
Uh-huh.
You The whole world was screaming at you. Even the judge told you at the lower court level, this is not going to end well for you. But nope, I'm going to forge ahead,
Mhm.
plow right on. You know.
Mm.
So I do think that there's a and again, we're talking about the behaviors of little children,
Yeah. That's what
petulance,
uh-huh. That's
people
right.
that have emotional dysregulation.
Uh-huh.
These are the people that suffer from this disorder. And as you know, 2-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 14-year-olds, when they fight with their father about, you're not going to tell me what to do. It's like, yes,
Mhm.
I am. It's my house, my rules.
Mhm.
Suck it up and deal with it. Or when your um, sergeant or whoever it is
Mhm.
tells you to do this in the military, no, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Good luck
I
with
mean, it's
that.
just part of life. I don't care if you're the richest man in the world. So everybody's answering to somebody in some capacity and doing things we don't want to do. I don't want to pay my taxes, but if I don't, then
That's
more
right.
stuff I don't want to do will have to happen. So,
Right. I don't like to stop at red lights,
right.
especially when the reason that I have to stop at the light is the person in the car in front of me wasn't paying attention, or was, you know, whatever, and I got stuck there. Okay, now 4 more minutes. I've got to wait for this to go. It's just,
Exactly. It's just called being an adult. I don't
yes, we
Yeah.
all deal with these insults in various forms on a
Mhm.
regular basis, but he just, the letters to the NYPD, the Duke feels that like, really?
Yeah. Oh
Really?
god, really.
And why do you think the NYPD cares?
Right. Yeah. Mm, mm. You're absolutely right. Okay, thank you to John Witherspoon for coming on and taking our questions and being, so thoughtful in all of your answers. Make sure you follow him at Witherspoon DC. He's on Instagram. I'm recording like this because I mentioned the end of the last one, that I'm still just a little under the weather. So I'm just using this footage so I don't have to go on camera. Anyway, this was part 2. I have more parts coming up. I'm going to sprinkle them here and there. And so look for those very soon. But again, thank you, John, for coming on. Thank you all for your kind, lovely, wonderful comments. And if you have any questions or comments or feedback for John, leave that down below and I'll make sure he is able to see those. I hope you guys all enjoyed this and have the best day. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye bye.